a dream. Almost like a premonition.
I think there's an attack coming.
My lord, this world will fall.
From the lush landscapes of Metropolis, welcome back to Zack Snyder's Justice League Chapter by Chapter. I am your host, The Real Brad Bell. If you're joining us for the first time, we are going through and providing review and commentary for all 8 parts of Zack Snyder's Justice League on HBO Max. Last week, we started with the Prologue, which was only 9 minutes. Today, we will get into part 1, which is around roughly 30 minutes, and it is entitled Don't Count on It, Batman. And those words come from Aquaman, Jason Momoa's Aquaman. One thing that I didn't mention in the very first episode of this series, as I was going through the commentary, you got to understand that I have it muted in the background on the second screen, and I'm recording on a different device. So therefore, with it being muted, I'm not hearing the beautiful score by Junkie XL. So let me comment on that now. It is a boisterous but beautiful score. It matches the frenetic pace of this movie. Despite it being 4 hours long, it goes by very fast, and I think the score aids in that. My favorite is when Superman returns. That part of the score is incredible. And I highly recommend checking out all of Junkie XL's stuff. But if you have Spotify, if you have Apple Music, just make sure you go on there and listen to a few tracks from this. And it is hard for me to really speak on the score because I have, again, my viewing experience muted. With that being said, check out all of Junkie XL's stuff, and I thought this really outdone the paint-by-number score that the legendary, but albeit lackluster in this case, Danny Elfman provided for the Joss Whedon inferior cut of this movie. So, enough with Junkie XL's masterful score. Let's go ahead and move into our commentary / review on part 1, Don't Count on It, Batman. If you are one of the few who are actually watching along with us on HBO Max, part 1, the title card for part 1 starts at 9 minutes and 37 seconds, and I'm going to hit play now. And my HBO Max is booting up. Here we go. We see the leader of the fishing village holding a card for Bruce Wayne. This was a lot of the stuff that we saw in that original Comic-Con trailer way back, I think in the summer of 2017. Maybe it was the summer of 2016. And of course, some of this got really messed up in the Justice League version of the film. Jason Momoa, his costuming, this jacket he has, will be one of several incredible jackets and wardrobe choices. These girls are just pining over Jason Momoa. Can't say that you could blame them. But this is in this Icelandic fishing village where Aquaman has been seen and spotted and providing for these people. But this is before Aquaman is a known hero. This is all before James Wan's solo Aquaman movie. I think now that we've had James Wan's solo Aquaman movie coming to this, we have had time to grow with these characters, and I think it makes every story beat in this version of the film all the more impactful. And you have Bruce here putting together this team, and it's hard to argue which member of the Justice League plays the biggest role. I would say Cyborg and Flash, but there is no version of the Justice League in this form in the film without Batman, without Bruce Wayne going around and recruiting them. Of course, they're all laughing at Bruce Wayne, which is not something that he's used to. Ben Affleck is just playing this up to the T. I mean, the guy's an Academy Award-winning actor, Academy Award-winning director and writer for Argo a few years ago. They're telling him to get out, and he just simply can't do that. Jason Momoa threatening here, and there is some controversy that sometimes we see the Justice League get at each other's throats a little bit too much in this film. I just want to point out that the first time we saw Cap, Iron Man, and Thor together, they fought in the woods. So I'm going to dismiss that criticism altogether right here and right now. Bruce offers money to Arthur Curry, aka Aquaman, the protector of the oceans, and he says that he will consider it. Now, he gives that money to this little girl of what looks like a struggling village. This scene in particular really benefits from the 4:3 aspect ratio, seeing the mountains in the background, just being able to see a lot more of the top of those mountains. And I think anything with weather in this movie is the same way. When you talk about the snow with Victor Stone later on and the snow here falling, this is just a beautiful scene right here. This is film, and this is actually one of my favorite parts of the movie, where you see in this dialogue as he's trying to recruit Aquaman, asking him, have you ever heard of Superman? And some people dismissed that when they first saw that because it's like, well, you just tried to kill this guy. But there is regret, there is pain on Bruce's face here. And I think that is what makes this recruitment of the League, the later attempted resurrection and resurrection of Superman, successful. Obviously, there's spoilers for this film if we're providing review / commentary. And here Aquaman goes into these what appear to be Icelandic waters. I could be wrong, but I believe that is where we're at. Not just saying that because it's cold. It just appeared on the scenery based on that. And now we have the villagers who are familiar with this version of Aquaman talking about him. And we have the girl, this has become a famous scene, a meme scene, the girl who is sniffing the sweater of Jason Momoa. All the costuming in this film, from the actual superhero outfits to what they wear in with their civilian clothing, is just top notch. And I think Momoa may have the best civilian clothing of anyone in this film. And now we are switching scenes to Diane Lane as Martha Kent. She's losing her farm here. We saw some of this toward the end of Batman vs. Superman hinted at, and now she is officially moving out. Sad to see. That being said, we know that this will provide some good reconciliation toward the end of the film. That's what I think is interesting here. You have the most powerful being in the world who has passed away, and he could have, over the course of his lifetime, done anything to enrich himself, enrich his family, and instead, he chose to keep his abilities a secret for his dad's protection of him. I know that was controversial when we go back to Man of Steel and the bus, should you let him drown, but that was all about protecting his son, so I have no problem with that, with Jonathan Kent saying that in Man of Steel. But he could have done so much more selfishly, and he didn't. And again, that's just what makes the core of this character work. And now we have Alfred, played by Jeremy Irons, making his first appearance in the film. And Alfred is going to be probably the most active, or Jeremy Irons is Alfred, rather, is going to be the most active version of the character I think that we see in any Batman movies, with the few films that were given with him. I mean, I guess we saw him here and then in BVS and a lot more in the Ultimate Edition. But at the same time, considering he did about as much in these two films as Michael Caine, who I think is still a superior Alfred, did in the 3 Nolan Batman films, as far as aiding the Batman, is saying a lot. Here we have one of the scenes that was picked at, and I understand why. I don't know if we really need to see Lois Lane's coffee get poured in slow motion as she walks through the rain. Is it a beautiful shot? Yes. This, however, is something that I don't believe would have ever have been put in theaters. I like how the Daily Planet truck goes by, and very symbolic because she has refused to go back to the Daily Planet post the death of Superman, which was different from the Whedon cut because she was working at the Daily Planet. She's grieving, but I think that's a decent enough excuse not to be working, grieving the death of your would-be husband. So I never understood the criticisms coming at Snyder for not allowing her to go to work here, but to each their own. Here's this infamous Superman memorial that we hinted at toward last week. And you see, just as times passed, the appreciation of you don't know what you got till it's gone of Superman in the Snyderverse here. That being said, if there's one thing that I thought the Whedon cut did better, and this is the only thing, is it seemed like the world mourning Superman was on display in a more prominent way, which if you could have put that with this, I think as powerful as his return is here would have made it all the more powerful. Here we have some of that. I believe we're in England and we have the black Superman banner with the silver S, and this is where we're going to get into a scene that was butchered in the original cut and a scene here that is really done justice by the Snyder cut. And I'm talking about the introduction of Wonder Woman. We have some terrorists here who are going to go into this bank. Now, as I was watching this, I had just read Superman Unchained, and there is a terrorist organization in that book called Ascension, and they essentially are Luddites who want to get rid of the technological advancements society has made. And according to some of the dialogue of these terrorists, that is what we have here as well. However, as much as I looked at the subtitles and tried to listen, I never heard any mention of Ascension. And Superman Unchained had been completed when they were filming this, because that is, I think, a 2013 book into 2014 by Scott Snyder, the writer, not Zack Snyder, the director, and the legendary Jim Lee. Now, I don't know what facility they're, I know it's a bank, but I don't know like if this is supposed to be some place of historical significance in England. American history teacher, not a British history teacher, so if I'm missing that, I'm sorry. But this is some raw, visceral stuff, especially in the generation, or now 2 generations of school shootings and public shootings. This is something that could have played very grotesquely, depending on when this film was released. I think the day that the Snyder Cut came out, we unfortunately had a mass shooting in Atlanta targeting Asians, which was completely despicable and awful and should be condemned in every way. And then we had one about a week later in a supermarket in Boulder, Colorado. But I think here is what makes superheroes resonate so much with so many people in the terrible times that we live in. We see this great shot of Wonder Woman lurking over this landscape on top of the Lady Liberty Monument. Symbolic on the nose, maybe a little, but still a cool shot nonetheless. These are gods among men, these DC characters, where in Marvel you have men and women struggling with godlike powers in some cases. So that is the big differentiator between the two, and I think Zack Snyder truly understands that, and he's modernized it. That doesn't work for some people, but I think it works if you actually sit down and try to engross yourself in his films, as far as his DC films. I think what makes this scene so appealing is, what if we had beings like this to truly intervene in the sick situations that mass gun violence have caused within our society? And here we have the Lasso of Truth is on full display in this movie, but not annoyingly so, like in Wonder Woman 1984. Now, I didn't hate Wonder Woman 1984, but it seemed like at times she was using the lasso more to get around. Here she's using it almost Spider-Man-esque, swinging, whereas here she's using it to get the truth and as an actual weapon. So I think the lasso here is used to a much better effect. Now, they've taken this place hostage, this maybe it isn't a bank. Maybe it's like some type of historical site. Here we see Wonder Woman bust through in the slow motion. This is a case of Zack's slow motion working so well. And we have the extra little chant added to her score that Junkie XL came up with so famously in BVS. We see the bullet time just working so well here. How she moves, very reminiscent of how we saw her move in World War I and with Patty Jenkins stuff. The gauntlets on full display. I mean, she is just whooping these terrorists, and that's what they are, technological terrorists. She is just beating them into a pulp. Now we see her take the bomb as she is jumping up into the sky. We're in slow motion. Again, I think this is where slow motion really works. And she is going to, of course, Wonder Woman is going to save the day. Now, I think this was some type of historical site. If I said a bank earlier, I apologize. But the goal here was to set off this bomb, not to steal any money, despite how it may have looked initially. And when that plan fails, what we have here is mass chaos, mass terror that these people are wanting to implement. We see the guy put down the smaller gun for the semi-automatic weapon, which has been a plague on our society in recent years, and a mass shooting is ready to take place. And then you get one of the most powerful scenes in the movie, as in slow motion, Wonder Woman uses her gauntlets to stop this from taking place. And this is superheroism at its best. I think this is the reason in today's society that we live in that these characters are so popular beyond the page. This is just, the camera work here is just incredible. Almost Flash-like, but not that fast. I think that scene right there is better than anything we get to see her stopping the bullets and putting herself in front of those would-be victims. More powerful and more impactful maybe than anything we see in Wonder Woman 1984, and on par with Patty Jenkins stuff. She uses the gauntlet smash here to take care of this terrorist. Did she kill this guy? I believe so. If you have a problem with a superhero killing someone who was about to conduct a mass shooting of several children, I don't know what to say for you. I don't know what you want out of your superheroes. So, go find a different movie, a different universe. I guess this isn't for you, and that's fine. Now, here's a line that a lot of people have taken flack with. A little cheesy, especially for Snyder. And this was not in the theatrical cut of Justice League. But she asked the little girl, "Are you okay, princess? And can I be like you someday?" is what she responds. And she says you can be anything you want to be. Now, that's empowering, but I don't know if it matches up with these godlike beings struggling with their place in society, because no matter how hard that girl tries, she's not going to be Wonder Woman. I don't mean to be demeaning. I don't mean she can't be empowered by the character. Doesn't mean she can be empowered by the woman in this case, in this universe, but it just doesn't seem to fit with the rest of the narrative that we have going in the Snyderverse here. And now we are in the Mascara. We mentioned earlier how the three mother boxes had awakened. The one that man had, the one that Atlanteans had, and the one that Amazonians have. They've been guarding this box for like 10,000 years, just like 24/7. And now this thing has come to life. I'm just thinking about these people just sitting here day after day after day and nothing happening for thousands of years since the first age, Hippolyta says, and now the mother box is powering down, which they think is going to be a good sign. But apparently it had been making noise since the crack appeared, so they know something is up. Man, it is really hard to match any of the Amazonian stuff Patty Jenkins did in those first 30 minutes or so of Wonder Woman, the original film. I don't know if this supersedes it, but I think it may be right on par with it. I love how they're all just got these arrows and swords pointed at this box that they have no idea what it is. And now we're going to see our first instance in this film of a boom tube, which is what the New Gods used, the people of Apocalypse and New Genesis used to travel through space and time. And you know it's a boom tube, it's a tube, it goes boom, but nobody ever calls it a boom tube. And here we have the parademons. They look so sick in this film. They did in BVS. And here we have our first look at the brand new Steppenwolf with the armor that reacts to his mood. So it is very active as he just seems utterly pissed to encounter these Amazonians. The voice is menacing. The armor is astounding. And we actually get to see here a performance. And I need to look up the actor's name that plays Steppenwolf, and I will get that next time. You can leave it in the comments below. You can tweet at me at @TheRealBradBell, REEL Brad Bell with that, but I will look it up for the next show. But I know it was all mocap. And here we see something that looks like a comic book come to life. Looks like 300 in many ways. We are seeing the Amazonians fighting the parademons, which is just a great dichotomy in the way that they fight. The Amazonians so precise, so graceful with their fighting, and the parademons just flailing and causing as much disruption as they possibly can across this beautiful land. And of course the goal here is to make sure Steppenwolf and the parademons are going to be locked in this facility, even if that means Amazonians dying, to prevent him from leaving with the mother box. Again, if he assembles all three mother boxes, what happens is he will be able to open a portal for Darkseid to come to Earth. And of course, we'll get into more of that later. Here we just see the parademons and Steppenwolf ripping these Amazonians to shreds. We have Hippolyta, who is mourning the loss of her sisters. I mean, you get to see her as a true queen here. She's not just that in title only. You see that she actually cares for her fellow Amazons. The hammers are being readied here for her to make sure that this door will be closed behind them. As Hippolyta is running out away from the mother box chamber with the mother box in hand, and the Amazons are sealing it. I did Google who plays Steppenwolf in the mocap suit. I think it's Syrian or Kieran Hines, and he is an Irish actor from Belfast. So I did not know that. I know Ray Porter's Darkseid, but I did not know the name of the actor who was portraying Steppenwolf in the mocap suit. That being said, he really disappears into the role in a good way. It doesn't seem like a mocap actor playing this. It seems like a legitimate performance, which is what you want with any creature like that. And here we see slow motion at its best as Hippolyta gets the mother box out. It is sealed. Her Amazons have met their fate, and she sees the destruction, and you see the distress on her face. Now they really have done justice to the Themysciran landscape. Not as much on display here. You kind of see a different side of it than you did. We saw more of the water and the coast in the Patty Jenkins version. Here we are seeing the landscapes. We're seeing the mountainsides. And we see that chamber collapse in the ocean. Snyder does destruction so well. Maybe sometimes he does overdo it, but I think this is one case where it really works. Now she is handing off the mother box. And she is going to be willing to fight here rather than run. I think she really wants a confrontation with Steppenwolf should he be alive. And of course we know he will be. By the way, this Steppenwolf here, if you don't know, and the Steppenwolf in the 2017 version of Justice League looks completely different from the comic. The comic, he is more man-like. Exaggerated, of course, but especially the older, when you go back to the New Gods, Fourth World stuff with Jack Kirby, he is not this, he's gargantuan, but he is not this monstrosity that they chose to portray him as. Now we have this great shot of the parademons coming out of the water, and then we have Steppenwolf taking this giant leap to achieve his goal of retrieving the mother box. And Steppenwolf is in hot pursuit. Here he is just slaughtering these Amazonians. You see blood. He is not holding anything back. He's leaping 120, 150 feet into the air. He is killing the horses. This is the brutality that R rating will give you. These are not real horses. PETA people, don't worry. You equestrian lovers, these are all CG. That has been confirmed by Snyder. And of course, no one would condone violence toward animals. But I love, you see the armor as he's getting pierced with these arrows and getting roped down. The armor is just fluttering, and it is tweaking. And Steppenwolf is just continuing to have his way with these Amazonians. He lassos like 3 horses and tosses them to the side. And of course, he deflects and the arrows just out. I mean, man, that is awesome. I love the overhead shot of the parademons. It seemed like we always saw the parademons from front on in the original cut. Here we see the camera flying with them, kind of like probably one of those like zipline cameras, or we're up on a crane one. But just to see the motion through Themyscira here, very very similar here, and this predates it, but to how they keep the Infinity Gauntlet away from Thanos at the end of Endgame. Not to make those comparisons, I think this movie is better compared to the first Avengers rather than something like Infinity War or Endgame. But it is crazy how there's these similarities in them keeping this first mother box away, and with the rope and the arrows as they did with Spidey's webs and stuff in Endgame. And here we see Hippolyta knocked off of her horse, Steppenwolf taunting her, and instead of going after the box, which he is walking toward, instead of doing that, as any good queen and warrior would, she goes to check on her fellow Amazonian, and till the last bow and arrow, she is willing to give Steppenwolf a run for his money. But of course, he just crinkles that like he's snapping a twig. As far as the power set on display, Steppenwolf, he's below Darkseid, but he is pretty badass. And here we see the boom tube as he's collected one of his 3 mother boxes, and we have a very 300-esque arrow scene that is launching here via the Amazonians, but it's too late because boom, Steppenwolf's out of there. The debris runs over the faces of the Amazonians. And just seeing the power level of this Steppenwolf compared to the 17 version, is he Darkseid? No, he's not supposed to be. Is he Thanos level? No, he's not supposed to be. He's supposed to be a notch below that. And there are other new gods who are, I think, more like Calabac, who's one of Darkseid's sons, who are going to be more powerful than Steppenwolf in the comics. And, you know, new gods willing, we will get to see those in future versions of Snyderverse movies or stuff on HBO Max, or Ava DuVernay's New Gods movie, which I hope she's continuing to develop, especially following the success of Darkseid with this. This benefits so much coming after Wonder Woman, which of course being released now is after all the DCEU movies, but even when it was planned to be originally released in 2017, you're after Wonder Woman. So these Amazonians are established as such a powerful force of good, but such a force of strength, and their fighting prowess was on full display there. And here you see them taken to the limit. So that really shows you the stakes of the mother boxes in Steppenwolf. And that is the end of part 1, following the prologue. Part 1, Don't Count on It, Batman. And that gets us to part 2, which is at the Age of Heroes. So if you are following along on HBO Max, we are pausing here on the second part of the Snyder Cut Justice League, Zack Snyder's Justice League, chapter by chapter. We are stopping here at 37 minutes and 40 seconds. Thank you so much for tuning in to another special episode of Zack Snyder's Justice League, chapter by chapter. Please check us out on iTunes, sub there, rate, review us. Make sure you go to youtube.com/confirmedepicpodcast, leave comments, give thumbs up, but most importantly, subscribe and turn notifications on. We are also on Spotify. Just search Confirmed Epic Podcast. You can always email the show, and I will be glad to read those on the air. thepicreview@gmail.com, thepicreview@gmail.com. So we're going to pump these out over the next couple of weeks, and then we will get back to the regularly numbered show. Make sure you're going on Tumblr. Just search The Real Brad Bell, tumblr.com/TheRealBradBell. Plenty of good comic reviews on there. Make sure you guys stay safe. If you're able to get the vaccine safely, do that. I got my second dose yesterday, and I'm feeling great. I can't wait to do things like maybe see Zack Snyder's Justice League in IMAX with friends and just other people, and have that fan experience. So hashtag restore the Snyderverse. Make sure you're putting that out there, letting Warner Brothers know what the fans want. And once again, from the not Hollywood foothills of North Carolina, but the lush landscapes of Metropolis, we are out.
The bell's been rung. Out in the dark, among the stars, the god is dead.